Welcome to the presentation Social Innovation Forest and Landscape Restoration. When needs meet opportunity, anything is possible. This presentation is part of the session A Diverse View about Forest Governance in Brazil, which compromises four more online presentations and will hold a discussion section next September 14th. I'm Aurelio Pedovesi and I'm doing a joint PhD with the universities of Padova and São Paulo, developing the research aiming to unfold the social innovation in forest and landscape restoration initiatives. I will start bringing the general framework for analyzing sustainability of socio-ecological systems described by Eleanor Ostrom in 2009. This framework was developed in the light of thoughts about loss of resources, among them forests. This chart represents a complex system with multiple interconnected cascading effects and feedback loops in a very simple way. It was designed based on empirical evidences that many local communities have maintained their common pool resources through a governance system articulated by institutions as acknowledgement beliefs, social rules, and agreements. In a degraded land, however, the forest resources are not there anymore. Thus, along with decades of degradation, the power among social agents has changed, reconfiguring institutions and remodeling the social tissue. In this sense, restoration landscape common resources as native vegetation to protect critical landsliding areas or providing ecological services has the additional challenge of establish a long-lasting landscape governance capable to mobilize users to act collectively on restoring forest resources. Different from sustainable management of common pool resources, landscape restoration requires new institutions to inspire new attitudes towards the landscape, bringing back the function of some key common pool resources already consumed or highly pressured. Lasting restoration of degraded landscape seems to require social ecological innovation. It is easier to understand what social ecological innovation is, decomposing it in three words meaning. Innovation means something new that was not there before. It represents a practice matured from a good idea. It's something that can be observed. It could be novel in the time, into a specific geography, or a social group. By social, it means that these innovations satisfy a social need, changing a social structure and enhancing the social capacity to act. In that sense, it's social in the process and in the results. When the social innovation also brings benefits to nature, it can be named social ecological innovation. Through a contest analysis of 36 scientific papers, we found five conceptual breeds connecting social innovation and forest landscape restoration. It results in a framework called Social Innovative Forest and Landscape Restoration, SIFLR. The five identified breeds were used to explain SIFLR development process in three study cases in Brazil. Along the next slides, I'm going to go through those five breeds using a few examples extracted from the three cases studied, without evidentially get into many details. Breed 1. Where can SIFLR occur? Both social innovation and forest landscape restoration are transformation processes triggered by and shaped by local context, possibilities, and interests. Therefore, SIFLR takes place in the local level. This narrative is built by an intertwined set of evidences, traces of social memory, personal interests, collective values, perceptions of cause-effect, and the ability to persuade of those who wants the transformation. One of the study cases is in Doce Watershed, Minas Gerais state. And another two ones are in the South Paraíba Valley, São Paulo, both in Brazil. Bridge 2. Why does SIFLR happen? The search for a better quality of life is the trigger and one of the primary desired results of SIFLR. However, this only happens when local and regional actors adjust their attitudes and cooperate to generate multi-scale benefits. In other words, when the social need of local people is articulated to the ecosystem service provision required by regional agencies. The determining factor to build the bridge to in the case studies analyzed were the need for a new food production, agroforest in that case, the need to generate income by a sustainable management of the local flora, and the need to restore critical areas to avoid a new water supply crisis. Bridge 3. Who makes it happen? SIFLR is born locally and can spread across landscape and even to other regions. Therefore, its activation is necessary done by the participation of the residents of the landscape. However, they need to be organized into landscape stewardship groups, willing and prepared to lead a long-lasting term SIFLI process. Civil capacity is necessary for this to happen, which requires social learning, and bridge organization are also important for connecting these groups with agents from other scales and sectors. In the three cases studied, we observe family farmers, women, the youth, landowners, and organization of the forest restoration chain taking the role of landscape stewardships. Bridge 4. How those SIFLR develop. Many transformation processes begin, but only those capable of connecting with other social agents in the landscape governance system can access the resources and the power necessary to put their vision of future into practice. The SIFLI process is not different, and the main good governance feature for it are ability to trust, capacity to self-organize, flexibility and adaptability to a changing context, and the capacity of linking dwellers to other sectors, social groups, and levels of governance. In the study cases analyzed, we observed that bridge organizations are equipped with appropriate multidisciplinary teams and participatory methodologies were essential to develop those four governance capacities. Bridge 5. What is the impact expected from SIFLR? The impact desired by an SIFLR process is to establish new social and power relationships capable to improve the social ecological resilience of the landscape. However, as it involves several complex and dynamic mechanisms in time, paradoxically, resilience can only be conceived by a transformative process, continuously adaptive, and generated by continuous social learning. The impact observed in the case studies were diverse. However, what is most striking is that landscape stewardship continued to act voluntary even after the end of the project that have mobilized them. Final remarks. SRFLR specify a distinct and possible approach to FLR, which brings social ecological innovation as a driving and desirable element for supporting sustainable livelihoods and restoring socio-ecological relationships on the landscape. However, many pending questions remain to be answered about SRFLR, such as what are the profile of these landscape stewardship people? How the available FLR funding can enable social ecological innovation. For whom, in what situation, and to what extent is it impact? I'd like to thank you very much for your attention, and I look forward to talking to you during the discussion section on next September 14th. Thank you.